Hello and welcome to this episode of Billy the Batboy's Corner, presented by Up On Game. I'm Billy Pinckney, and today we have Connor Norby, member of the Baltimore Orioles organization, joining us in just a moment. One of their top prospects on their top prospect list, and man, they have a bright future with guys like him, with guys like Drew Rom, who we had on a couple episodes ago as well. So we're going to have Connor jump on in just a moment to talk about his experiences in college baseball, hitting over 400 for 2 years in a row at the collegiate level, and then playing professionally, doing a great job playing in high A, double A, and triple A this past year in 2022, and seeing what he's thinking about the Orioles organization moving forward since they have such a bright future. So let's welcome Connor Norby to the show. All right, guys, we're here alongside one of the top prospects in the Baltimore Orioles organization, Connor Norby, second rounder back in 2021 from East Carolina University. Connor, appreciate you joining us.
I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, you've established yourself as such a dominant professional hitter, great years up in college, hit over 400 2 consecutive years, and then professionally you've done a great job. How do you keep things simple in the batter's box?
I think you have to be simple. I think the game's too hard as it is to overthink things, especially in such a long year. It can be really easy to overthink things, and I did that a lot, probably the first half, and that's kind of how I view my season in a sense, is two seasons really. I think before July really hit, it was like I was in my head and I thought a lot of different things were going wrong. And in the grand scheme of things, I was doing the right things, and I just had to continue to stick with it. And if anything, I think you have to, when you hit struggles like that in such a long year, you have to almost be even more simple if you can. I sometimes try going to the box, not thinking anything really. And I mean, that's pretty much what the season was, is 2 seasons to me.
Are there any cues that you like to hear or something that you repeat to yourself while maybe walking up to the box?
I learned something in college about like Sean Casey used to do it. He used to have he'd write down 3 things and put them on a piece of paper in his back pocket and he'd read them on deck. And we talked about it in college, like, what would your 3 things be? And they'd be different for each guy, but I don't remember exactly what mine were at the time, but I'm sure it was quiet load, recognize the pitch, and stay through the center of the field. I'm pretty sure that's probably what the 3 were at the time. And I try to just keep it as simple as possible, because I came into spring training had all these different changes thinking they would work, and they never did. And my buddy was just like, hey, go back to what you used to do. And it took me some time to get back into feeling how I used to feel. But once I did, I kind of took off a little bit.
Well, it's been working out really well for you at the professional level. Had a great season this past year across a few different levels. And I'd like to touch on, in the batter's box, you're hitting for average, you have great OPS and all that stuff, but you've also hit quite a few home runs, hit 29 home runs this past year. So when you're in the batter's box, are you really thinking about the home run, or are you just thinking about hitting the ball hard and making consistent contact?
I didn't try to hit home runs at all. I mean, I had a goal of 15 going in the year, and I hit that. And I think byproducts come from swinging at good pitches and finding the barrel of the baseball, and that's what I'll tell everybody. It's, you find a good pitch to hit and you make a good swing on it, and everything kind of takes care of itself.
When you're sort of on a roll and really hitting the ball well, how can you describe that laser focus and when you're truly locked in?
Sometimes it looks like a grapefruit, sometimes it looks like a sunflower seed up there. When you try to ride the highs as long as you can, but at some point you're going to start having to really grind out days. And we have a saying, kind of like 10% of the year you're red hot, 10% you're ice cold, and the 80%, that's where you make your money. That's where you're grinding out every single night, every single at bat. And I think what kept me so steady and try to be as consistent as possible through that last half of the year was just coming in and doing the same things that I could do every single day, keeping my routine the same. If something didn't feel right, let's talk about it. Let's maybe switch something up, but let's not be drastic here. because at the same time, it's like, what got you here? Don't change what got you here. But yeah, just trying to be as consistent in your prep work as possible.
I'm sure that's where the mental game comes into play as well when you kind of reach those lows a little bit. How much of an emphasis do the Orioles put on the mental side of the game and working on that with the players?
It's huge. We have our own mental skills coach. I remember talking to her a few times throughout, and she always kept checking in week to week, month to month, seeing how I'm feeling. And at the end of the day, you have to understand it's baseball. You're supposed to fail. Mike Trout makes millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and he succeeds 3 out of 10 times. So it's a game you're supposed to fail. And I talk about riding the roller coaster a lot. You don't want to ride the roller coaster of emotions, but I mean, it's baseball. It's going to happen, and you just try to limit that as much as you can, as best as you can. Where if you try to just stay as level-headed as possible, you're going to set yourself up for some sort of success here or there. But you just try to be as level-headed as you can be.
Is there a certain message that you really took to heart and you really kept with you from the mental skills coach? Something that you really think is really important for even younger kids to focus on?
Well, there's two things. Both came from our hitting coordinators in the minor leagues. One of them said that you got to learn from your good days, learn from your bad days. And that was something I took and kind of ran with it and helped me out a lot. And then the other thing was our other minor league hitting coordinator, he used to play in the big leagues, and he came up with he was at third base when he made his debut, and it was Jimmy Rollins at short, Chase Utley at second, and Ryan Howard at first. So I was like, that's 3 pretty good guys to learn from right there. But he told me, he's like, when the jersey comes off, reflect after the game. But when that jersey comes off, it's over. You become you as a civilian, as an American, whatever you are, you become a human again, and not the baseball player side. Be yourself, and then when you try to just be yourself, and then when that next day the jersey comes back on, it's okay, it's time to go. But when that jersey comes off, whatever happened is over with, whether it was good or bad.
I feel like the best of the best have really been able to kind of master that, where they leave it on the field, they leave it in the clubhouse, and once they leave and go into their personal life, they kind of flush it and let it go. Have you had trouble trying to navigate that? How has the process been like for you?
I mean, it's hard. And you have a bad game. It's hard to not think about, but at the same time, you got to understand, I'm back in the lineup tomorrow night, more than likely. So I try to separate baseball from personal life as best as I can, but sometimes it is what it is, and it gets in the way a little bit. But I think first year game, that was something I had to deal with, but I kind of figured it out the last half, I would say, just being able to separate the two and understanding how I need to separate it and what are like cues for me to be able to do that. But I think the best way is when that jersey comes off, it's whatever was done in the game, that game is over.
Well, I do want to touch on your defense as well. Defensively, I mean, you've played all over the diamond, mainly at second base, but have the Orioles been adamant about seeing you all around the field?
That was one thing I wanted to do. That was not really on them. I talked about it because I know Taron Vavra, he was doing both. He was an infielder in college, came in as an infielder, but also was working in the outfield a lot and playing a lot out there. And I was like, I love second, but I don't want to just be limited. And so I was like, I kept like kind of begging in a sense, like, let me go out there. And they finally let me, and I don't know how many total games it was, but I mean, I enjoyed it. It's a little bit easier than infield, but it's still baseball. But it was fun to me, and I enjoyed doing it. And I'm looking forward to hopefully getting the opportunity to do it some more this year.
Definitely. It makes you more valuable. You never know if there's a spot at the big league level that they need to fill, and you're then now able to fill that spot because you're able to play that position. It's huge. Would you say that, how would you say your development is in those other positions? Are you getting more confident playing all around the field rather than just second?
I think I have, yeah. I think my first game out in left, I think the very first ball was actually hit, like, it was a homer, but it was like straight away right behind me. And those are like the hardest balls to read. Those hard hit balls directly at you because you really don't know which way to turn. That and it was kind of like a line drive, so you don't have much time to react. So that was kind of like baseball will find you. Baseball gods will find you. And but after that, I kind of like working out there. I tried getting some work out there at least once a week, usually on my days that I kind of wasn't playing, especially getting out there. But I felt more comfortable with it as it went on. I'm not going to call myself a pro out there or a gold glover, but I'm working on it.
So how do the Orioles work that in the minor leagues? So they have schedules where they say, okay, you're going to play second base the first 2 games of the series and then the outfield the 3rd game or something like that?
When I was in low A last year, they had it mapped out to where you were playing five a week. And then this year it was very similar in high A again. They had it very similar and kind of worked with, I know me, Kobe, and Cowser kind of had a set day where we were going to get off. And I mean, granted, like some weeks you'll have doubleheaders, some weeks guys get down or go down, so you have to play a little bit more. But ideally, they wanted to keep us on like a 5-game week, and then once you get up to Double A, it's kind of big boy baseball at that point. So you're not really getting too many off days. So it was kind of like out the window. But with as far as like playing the outfield, they wanted to get me out there once a week, and then at second, the others, if not a DH or something in there. But Double A and up, they prepare you at that point. You're preparing to play in the big leagues. So big leaguers don't sit.
No. How do you like those scheduled days off? Are you a fan of those?
Oh, it was nice. It was really nice. But like I said, the plan is to play in the big leagues. The goal is to play in the big leagues, and you try to prepare your body for that as best as you can. And it's a 162 game plus playoff year, so it's a long year, and your goal is I want to play 150 at least. So that's the goal. So you try to prepare your body now. Minor leagues is where you prepare for the big leagues and what that life is like and that type of schedule.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the big leagues, you see what they're doing at that level with the Orioles and really have this young wave of talent coming through and shining. And it looks like there's another young wave, too, coming through with guys like yourself, Joey Ortiz, Colton Cowser, Drew Rom, who was on one of our last episodes. I mean, what can you say about the excitement around the Orioles organization and what this young energy brings to the table?
I mean, I saw it like kind of right away last year, and I saw it even more this year, especially it's at every level. There's guys that are so talented that like some guys just get stuck, and that's just the way it is because it's so hard to move guys, especially in our system where I don't really like look at the prospect list numbers, that type of thing. But there's so many guys that are just, you're fighting every day. Like you're kind of battling with them, but it's friendly competition in a sense. But it's an exciting time for sure. I know like last year they had a big wave with Adley and Stowers and Taryn and Gunner and all these guys, DL. And like this year, who knows what's going to happen, or this coming year, who knows what's going to happen. But it's a very exciting time that they're up there, and we're trying to be right behind them and join them and win some games up there.
I mean, you're facing some of the best guys in Double A and Triple A, some great prospects. Who were the tougher pitchers that you faced this past year?
That's a long list.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, Griff McGarry from the Phillies. I don't know what it is. He has my number right now. Saw him a few too many times for my liking, but I would say him. And then two of the guys I specifically saw in Double A a lot were my former teammate Gavin Williams, and then Kyle Harrison from the Giants. Those are, I could probably name a lot more, but those three really stick out to me.
Now, for the young hitters out there, I want to get some words of wisdom for those kids. You know, maybe in high school, even college players. Are there any little tricks that you've realized that you need in order to play at the professional level? Any words for them?
Confidence is key, but I think that just comes from work ethic and the stuff you do outside practice in that controlled setting, and that kind of is what separates guys really quickly, to be honest. And I mean, if you preparation or was confidence comes from preparation. I'm a firm believer in that, and you should have, if you're constantly working, you should have more pride and more confidence than I outwork this guy, so I'm not letting him beat me type of thing. And I look at baseball, especially as a hitter, like when I step in the box, it's kind of me mano a mano type thing, me versus you, and that really gets my mind in the right place. And I think that just that competitiveness, I think those two things.
If you could go back and tell yourself something as a younger ball player, is there something you tell yourself to maybe change or do differently, or just let you know, hey, this is going to happen later on?
Just trust God, trust that things will work out. Keep putting in the work because it pays off. Hard work will always pay off. You don't know when, but it will. And I think those, because you start down yourself at times, and it's so hard, especially in this game. You have those moments where you doubt yourself, and you have to just understand that there's a plan for you from higher up, and everything kind of works out in a sense if you put in the work.
Man, Connor, appreciate you coming on. Great stuff. And best of luck throughout the rest of this offseason heading into next year.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
We'd like to thank you for checking out this episode of Billy the Batboy's Corner alongside Connor Norby with the Orioles. And they have a very bright future, as you just heard in that interview, man. It's great to see. The AL East is going to be such a competitive division, which with each team pretty much above 500, finding ways to compete. And I just love the young talent that they're bringing up. They have a very diverse group of young talent, guys who could hit for power, guys who are going to get on base and hit for average like Connor Norby right here. And it's just going to be exciting to watch. You know, at first they might not be superstar players, but they're going to do the job and do what they can to win ball games. So if you'd like to learn more about what we're doing here with Billy the Batboy's Corner and Up On Game, be sure to follow on social media at Billy the Batboy, at Up On Game Network. Also, we're supporting the Father English Center in Paterson, New Jersey, helping give back to the community. And we'd like to thank you once again for taking the time to check out this episode. We'll see you next time here on the show.